Hello again, YouTubers and Pokemon fans. Today we have the fourth and final 2016 World Championship deck, which is the Masters Finalist deck, Cody Walinski's Ninja Blitz deck, featuring, as you can see there, Greninja. On the back here, take a quick look, read the little bio thing they put on here. Cody Walinski soared into the Masters Division Finals with the help of Talonflame, who started game after game as his active Pokemon thanks to its Gale Wayne's ability and the luck of the draw. It's a great start for this deck, which can be slow to get going. Greninja Break requires multiple evolutions before it can start doing its thing. But once in play, the giant Water Shuriken ability hands out the knockouts left and right. We'll show you all the cards in just a moment, but there is a quick look at the deck list, in case that's all you really care about. But I really think you should stick around throughout this whole video. I think you'll be pleased and pleasantly surprised or whatever if you do. So, get everything out of the box there. Take a quick look inside here. We showed you most of this yesterday in the Masters Finalist. But here we go. There is Cody Walinski there, who lost to Shintaro Ito's Magical Symphony Mega Auto deck, which we looked at yesterday. But he defeated Ross Cawthon and Brad Curcio, I'm not sure, my apologies, in the semifinals and quarterfinals. Then turn to his page here, wherever it may be. There we go. There is Cody Walinski. Interesting fact, Cody was a co-creator of the Wailord Stall deck that reached the 2015 US Nationals Finals. And read this second bio, if you will. Cody's most memorable moment came during the semifinals when he defeated one of the veterans of the Pokemon World Championships, that being Ross Cawthon, with 3 knockouts in a single turn to advance to the finals. He really enjoyed seeing a lot of unique decks have success this year, and he was particularly proud of my own success with a deck that was deemed inconsistent and irrelevant. When he's not playing Pokemon, Cody enjoys pickup basketball. He seems to have a good sense of humor about his second place finish. After all, he says, Ash doesn't win tournaments with Greninja either. And there is the deck list once more. And here is the deck, which I could explain, but I feel like there's someone else who could do it a lot better. And you know, this Cody guy looks kind of familiar. Let me see if he's around, if he's available. Cody, you around? Can you handle this?
Yeah, I'm right here. I can go through it.
Awesome. Well, here's Cody to take it away.
Hello, everybody. It's me, Cody Walinski. I'm here to explain my deck to you. Jeff thought I'd be able to explain a little better than him, so here we go. Okay, so the best part about this deck is using Greninja Break. Its ability is once during your turn before you attack, this Pokemon is your active Pokemon. You may discard a water energy card from your hand, and if you do, you put 6 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So I can use multiple abilities per turn, so I can actually use 2 of these guys in one turn, and I can do 120 damage to any of my opponent's Pokemon. So abilities don't end your turn, so I can still attack after that. So I can actually do a lot of damage in one turn. And I play 3 of them because I can always reuse them with the likes of Super Rod or Splash Energy. So I don't necessarily need 4 because it's kind of hard to get them out anyway because it's a setup deck. Uh-oh. I'm knocking everything over.
I knew that would happen.
Alright, and then the main core of the deck is Greninja. It's a very strong card, I think. Its first attack, Shadow Stitching. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, each Pokemon that your opponent has in play in their hand or in their discard pile has no abilities. So it's really good. You can use Shadow Stitching, and then your opponent can't use Shaman to set up and draw cards, or even in the mirror match, if I'm playing against another Greninja, they can't use the giant Water Shuriken ability that the Break has. So it's actually a really, really strong attack. And then Moonlight Slash, its other attack, you return a water energy from your hand attached to Greninja, and it'll do 20 more damage. So against Evital EX decks, it's really good to just have no energy on your Greninja, and it's really hard for them to knock you out because it does 20 plus 20 for each energy attached to Evital and the opposing Pokemon. And 130 HP is pretty good. They're a little hard to get out, but it's definitely worth it. Pretty strong card. I play 3 copies of those because I can reuse them with Super Rod and stuff like that. And then I play 1 of this Greninja because its Water Shuriken ability is pretty similar to the giant Water Shuriken on the Greninja Break. It's a little weaker though, but it doesn't have to be in the active spot. When you discard water from your hand, you put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. It's actually really helpful because you can, if you have the break on top of it like this, you can use the giant water shuriken ability if it's in the active, and then you can also use the water shuriken ability, so you can do 90 damage just from one of your Pokemon with the abilities. And then its miss slash attack does 50, and it's not affected by a weakness, resistance, or any other effects, so it can go through like Glaceon EX's Crystal Ray. That actually helped me out quite a bit because that doesn't let any evolution Pokemon damage it. So I would always combo the Water Shuriken abilities and damage it, and then I would usually knock it out with the Mist Slash because the other Greninja couldn't do that because it couldn't damage it. This is Frogadier. I play 4 of them. This is the main card that's going to help me get out my Greninjas, because as soon as I can evolve one of my Froakies into this guy, I use water duplicates, and it lets me get out 3 Frogadier and put them onto my bench. So it can, I can surpass the evolution process. I can just put them straight on the bench. They're not considered a basic though, they're still stage 1. And then like my next turn evolve into Greninja, and I can really explode from there and really take over. But you know, it can be kind of a problem to get these out. It also really sucks when you prize a couple of these, because then you know you're not going to get out as many Greninja and you're going to be panicking a little bit. And this is Froakie. This is the basic of Greninja. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed for bubble. It actually won me quite a few games where just being able to paralyze my opponent's active and buy me a turn to keep evolving my Pokemon and actually get out a Greninja if I started really slow. So these guys are actually pretty good. And the reason I only play 3 when I play like 4 Frogadier is because I don't necessarily need to start him in my opening hand. I'd prefer to start Talonflame, which I'll go over in a second. And then yeah, because like the Frogadier water duplicates, I don't necessarily need a Froakie to evolve into those. But they're still really good to have. I wouldn't go less than 3 for sure. And Talonflame, this is probably one of the most important cards to help me set up. Its Gale Wings ability lets me play it from my hand when I'm setting up to play at the beginning of the game. I can put it as my active Pokemon. That's actually really cool because I think it's like the first evolution card where you can do something like that, where you don't necessarily need to have a basic to start the game. It's a stage 2 Pokemon, so if it didn't have that ability, I don't think it would be competitive at all. Its Aero Blitz attack is what makes it even better. For 40 damage, it search your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand. So I would always search my deck for any cards I need to help get out my Greninjas, whether it be a supporter to disrupt my opponent or like a Froakie and stuff, so I don't get benched out or anything like that. And the free retreat is actually very, very important, because then if I'm starting Talonflame, I can always just leave that water energy on it when I retreat, and I can always Aero Blitz later in the game as well if I ever need anything else. Or don't want to get one of my Greninjas knocked out, I kind of sacrifice the Talonflame.
In a perfect match for you, is there a certain number of attacks you want to get off with Talonflame at the start of the game? Is it 1 and done usually, or do you usually need 2 or 3 to set up properly?
It depends if I'm going first or second. So if I'm going first and I can start Talonflame, you can't attack on the first turn, so I'd kind of just leave it there. And then on my second turn, I would evolve the Froakie into Frogadier. So I would just retreat the Talonflame and then promote the Frogadier and water duplicates. But it really depended on my hand. If I needed like a supporter, if I didn't have one, then I would probably just Aero Blitz. But I would also be worried that my opponent would just Lysandre my Frogadier and knock it out. So most of the time, I'd say like 90% of the time, if I was in that situation, I would just do the water duplicates, let the active Frogadier get knocked out, re-promote the Talonflame, and then search for a supporter. And then if I was going second, I would definitely Aero Blitz right away since I can't attack. So the number of times...
If you can't attack, you can't evolve.
Or yeah, that's right. I getting a little ahead of myself. I can attack with Talonflame, but I can't evolve and attack with the Frogadier on my first turn if I'm going second.
So I'd say, generally speaking, you want Talonflame until you're able to attack with Frogadier to get all the Frogadiers out.
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds good.
And I play 4 of them, definitely to increase my chances of starting with in my opening hand. So I play 4 Talonflame and 3 Froakie. If I played 4 Froakie, then the odds are against me of starting Talonflame as often.
And do you say Lysandre because that's just what everyone says, or?
No, a lot of people say Lysander. I don't know. It has Andre in its name, so.
I know there's some names I say wrong on purpose because I like the sound better, even if I know the way it's pronounced.
Yeah,
I
definitely think it sounds
intentional
better.
mispronunciation or not?
No, it was intentional.
Okay. Because otherwise I know people got comment a bunch saying like, oh, he doesn't know how you pronounce Lysander.
Alright, getting into the trainers of my deck. These are definitely the gears that keep it going. Without trainers, I don't think this would be a very fun game. So first one, since we're going alphabetical order, is Ace Trainer. You can only play this card if you're losing. So if your opponent has more prize cards, or if you have more prize cards left than your opponent. So then when you play it, each player shuffles their hand into their deck, and I get to draw 6 and they only get to draw 3. So this was always really cool when I had a Talonflame start and I was able to Aero Blitz anticipating it was going to get knocked out. This would be one of the 2 cards I search for, and so then when the Talonflame got knocked out, I can promote my Froakie or Frogadier and then play Ace Trainer. So then most likely they're not going to have that good of a handoff of 3 cards, so that allows me some time to get set up. This was a very, very good card in my deck. Next card is Fisherman. It's a supporter card where you get to put 4 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. This is a very important card as well because it's the only card I have that lets me put energies in my hand so I can use Water Shuriken and Giant Water Shuriken, and it's also accessible with VS Seeker, so I can use it over and over again or whenever I need to. Next up we have 4 copies of N. This was a very important card. It's pretty similar to Ace Trainer, except you don't necessarily need to be losing in order to play it. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck and draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards. So it can actually be really good early because you get to draw 6 cards, or late game you can pretty well hurt your opponent, putting them down to 1 or 2 prize cards. So this was a very, very nice card. Definitely wouldn't play less than 4.
Especially since this is a setup deck, it's probably frequent that you're actually behind early in the game and you're being advantageous with the ends and Ace Trainers and the like.
Oh yeah, I'd say 90% of the time I'm not going to be taking the first prize card. They're always going to be taking knockouts first. Kind of weird though, I played all 4 different arts of N at Worlds. I didn't actually play these 4, but I definitely think this is the coolest art.
And obviously not every deck is going to be best suited for 4 ends, just being that your deck often plays from behind makes it more suitable to be 4 ends.
Yeah, if you're playing a deck like Mega Rayquaza or something, you're going to be taking prize cards first. It's a very aggressive deck, so you wouldn't want to be hurting yourself by drawing less cards.
In a deck like that, you probably want to run 1, maybe 2 ends at most then.
Alright, we have 1 copy of Pokémon Ranger. This removes all effects of attacks from each player and his or her Pokemon. So there's actually a lot of questions about this card that I've been asked and I've seen from people as well. So an effect of an attack is going to be a lingering effect like Greninja Shadow Stitching. So if I use Shadow Stitching on my opponent, they could play Pokemon Ranger and then they can use an ability during their turn because it's removing the effect of Shadow Stitching. It does not remove the damage that you did, however. Another Pokemon that would have an effect of an attack like that would be Regice from Ancient Origins. I know that one kind of gets brought up a lot. Its Resistance Blizzard attack does 70 and prevents all effects of EX and damage done to it from EXs, so Ranger is pretty popular in EX decks to get around that. And this really helps. I mostly played it for the Greninja Mirror because when you pretty much just shadow stitching all game with them. And then when you play this, you can use one of your giant water shuriken abilities and take some knockouts. And you can actually reuse this, a couple times per game with VS Seeker. So it's not that important. I don't think people played it at Worlds in their Greninja list, but I definitely wanted an edge against the mirror match, which I didn't have to play against at all. I was pretty fortunate. It's a pretty awful matchup. All right, and the last supporter cards in my deck are Professor Sycamore. I played 4 of them just so I can have maximum consistency in my deck, because this is definitely a really good card. You get to discard your hand and draw 7. 7 cards is an amazing number to be drawing in a card game. I know a lot of people aren't too happy to be discarding cards, but there's a lot of times where it's just stuff you don't need, or you just need to be drawing a giant amount of cards to help you get set up. So I would definitely play 4. Most decks play 4.
That's probably one of the most consistent things you see in decks across the board is 4 Sycamore.
So I only played 1 copy of Battle Compressor. You search your deck for up to 3 cards and discard them. The main reason I played this card was to discard my extra Talonflames, because you can only start 1. You can only use 1 per game, and that's if it's in your opening hand. So you're definitely going to have 3 useless cards left in your deck at least. And if I was able to draw into Battle Compressor, I was able to discard them. And the reason why that's important is because like mid and late game, you could be like end down to like a low amount of cards, and you really need to like get set back up or continue streaming attacks and abilities. So you want to eliminate those dead cards to increase your odds of getting the cards that you need in certain situations. And then this is also really cool because you can discard any card, like some supporter cards, and then you can get them back with VS Seeker. So if you didn't have a supporter in your hand, you could just discard 1 and use a VS Seeker to use it then.
If you had any Talonflames prized, was Froakie ever one that you would discard once you had the Frogadier set up?
No, because I would try to bench as many Froakies as I could, just because if I'm not starting Talonflame, I know that it's not a good thing. I would always be worried about getting benched or, just not being able to keep getting Greninjas out. So I would always just leave Froakies on the bench, and then if Greninja happened to get knocked out, I could shuffle it back in my deck with Super Rod, which I'll go over in a moment, and I can search it back out and evolve into a Frogadier immediately. I don't need to wait to search out a Froakie and then search out a Frogadier and evolve it the following turn. Kind of just leave them laying there until I need them. And also it's pretty cool to just stall with that bubble attack I was talking about. Next cards, I have 4 Dive Ball. These are very useful in water decks. They let you search your deck for a water Pokemon and put it into your hand. So this is going to help you get out, your Froakie, Frogadier, Greninja, and Greninja breaks. What's really nice about this is that there's no drawback, like a card like Ultra Ball where you have to discard 2 cards from your hand. You just play it and get what you need. So then the next ones are Level Ball. This one only lets me get out Froakie and Frogadier, because you can only search your deck for a Pokemon with 90 HP or less and put it in your hand. So Froakie and Frogadier have 60 and 70 HP respectively. So they're the only ones that qualify for being eligible to search with Level Ball, but it's nice that there's no drawback with this as well. It helps just increase the odds of being able to get out your Froakie and Frogadier by playing 4 Dive Ball and 2 Level Ball. The only other card that I would probably replace with Level Ball would have been Evo Soda, but I definitely like Level Ball better, so I don't get benched.
And by benched, you mean no bench Pokemon left and you lose the game early?
Yep. Basically, yeah, when you run out of Pokemon, it's called getting benched, so that's how you lose the game, or one of the ways you can lose the game. I played 1 copy of Startling Megaphone. Discard all Pokemon tool cards attached to your opponent's Pokemon. This is important against like Garbodor, where it turns off your abilities with its Garbotoxin ability. It's also important to get rid of Fighting Fury Belts, which give basic Pokemon 40 extra HP and they do 10 more damage. And you can also get rid of you can also get rid of a lot of random things like Spirit Links, Muscle Bands, Float Stones, just all like important tools that are going to be helping your opponent. Just get rid of them and they'll be a little mad.
And the new standard format, there's not really any good replacements for that card yet, correct?
There is no Pokemon or no trainer card. There is no trainer card that can get rid of tools in Standard. The only cards that get rid of tools are Rattata from Evolutions, and that is an ability, so it can't get rid of a Float Stone off of Garbodor. And then there's Beedrill EX, that's a promo that just came out, but it is an attack, so it's still not as versatile as like this card is, because you can still use one of your Greninja attacks or something.
Have you noticed the new standard format if a lot of people are teching in one copy of either of those cards just to get some tool removal?
Yeah, a couple people have been playing Beedrill, and then there's like decks like Rayquaza and Gardevoir that play Rattata. I've seen a Greninja list that actually did decently well at Fort Wayne this past weekend that played a Beedrill in it. So
fair enough.
I would just be a little nervous about opening with it.
Yeah.
My next two cards are Super Rod. These are very important because they shuffle 3 of any combination of Pokemon energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. So as soon as like one of your Greninja dies, or you want to be able to get him back out as fast as possible, because you don't know what's going to happen at all if you get end low and you just run out of Pokemon again, because the deck doesn't run very many Pokemon. And because it's all non-EXs, your opponent has to take 6 prize cards to win. So you want to make them have to go through a Talonflame and 5 Greninja if possible. So Super Rod, you can get all those back and then research them back out or draw into them and evolve them right away and reuse them. But most of the time I would only use like one Super Rod for just strictly energy, and that's because I felt like I was in a favorable like position with my Pokemon. And I'd want to put the energies back in the deck to increase drawing into them later so I can reuse them with Water Shuriken abilities. Alright, the last of the normal items is VS Seeker, and I played 4 of them. They let you put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand. This was very, very helpful. I think there's 4 of these in every single deck other than decks that play Vileplume, because they don't allow you to play items, and this is an item. So basically this card can be any single one of these supporters that you have in your discard pile. So it allows you to pick which one you need in a certain situation that it's going to be of most use. So if you're losing, it's good to play like Ace Trainer N, or if you need energies, grab Fisherman and put all the energies right in your hand. Very important card. So if you're getting into the game, I would definitely invest in 4 of those for sure. Alright, this is an item card as well, but I always put these at the back of the pile because it's also a Pokemon tool card. These were very important in the Night March matchup. So you can attach a Pokemon tool card, you attach it to one of your Pokemon. And this one, they all have different effects, but this one in particular, the Pokemon it's attached to as your active Pokemon is damaged by an opponent's attack. Even if you're knocked out, you put 6 damage counters on the Pokemon that was attacking you. So, like, so when you are getting attacked, you would attach it like this. Just put it behind it, and they're going to damage you, and let's say they even knock you out. Your Pokemon's going to go away, but they're going to leave 6 damage counters on them, which is going to give you like a huge advantage to returning with a KO, or this can even knock them out. So it was very helpful to trade prize cards with Night March. Otherwise, without these, they're just going to keep attacking you over and over and over again. You're not going to be able to keep up because they just keep streaming attackers, and this forces them to have to keep replacing, and actually gives you a huge advantage. And then also against like decks that have a lot of attackers with high HP, this will take a big chunk out of them, so you can knock them out a lot easier. But it's pretty easy to avoid. You just Lysandre around it, or use a startling megaphone or something, but you know, when you can ace trainer or end them down to like a low amount of cards and you plop one of these on, they're most likely going to be getting knocked out or taking a lot of damage.
And against Night March, you're knocking them out every time with that unless they have Fighting Fury Belt attached, correct?
Yes, that is true. And then, so even if they, like, let's say a Pumpkaboo, which has 60 HP, gets 61 of these on, if they have a Fighting Fury Belt, you can use the Startling Megaphone, knock off the Fighting Fury Belt at any time, and then they're knocked out. So those combo pretty well. My stadium of choice that I use was Rough Seas. I played 3 copies of it. So once during your turn, each player, since the stadium, both players can access it. They can heal 30 damage from each of their water and lightning Pokemon. So this was very important against the Trevenant matchup because they use Trevenant Break, which does 30 damage to each, or places 3 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. So, you know, if they do that, then you just use Rough Seas once and you heal all the damage from one of their attacks, which can actually buy you a lot of time, especially if you have 3 of them. And if they can't replace the stadium right away, that's going to be staying out there and helping you stall out against them for a while. Unfortunately, I played against one Trevenant deck and I lost to it because I couldn't draw my Rough Seas or setup or anything. So, because the item lock it has is pretty, you know, frustrating. You can't really do much. But this also helps because at any time, like, you know, if they damage like your active Greninja, you just retreat it, send out another one, and you let that one heal on the bench. So then you can have a brand new Greninja ready to go. We're going to go into the energies right now. I used 8 water energies. I thought this was a very good number to try to start with one in your opening hand so you can use Talonflame's Arrow Blitz attack right away or attach to a Froakie so you have one to use water duplicates. It's also a pretty good number so you can use the Water Shuriken abilities. And then I also played 2 Splash Energy. This is a card that a lot of people did not like in Greninja, but I absolutely loved it. So I played 2 copies of it. You can only attach it to your water Pokemon, so sorry Talonflame, you can't attach it to him. If the water Pokemon this card's attached to is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, you can return the entire Pokemon line to your hand. So if you happen to have, you know, like an entire Greninja break line out there with a Splash Energy attached, and they knock you out, you discard the Splash Energy, and you get all this back into your hand. So then, you know, you can lay the Froakie down on your bench, evolve a different Froakie you have, and evolve a Frogadier, and evolve into another Greninja break. So it's like that card, you know, the Pokemon that just got knocked out didn't even really go anywhere because you just got it right back out on the field. So it was very important in, you know, the Night March matchup I played because they're a very fast and aggressive deck and they're hitting hard. So being able to constantly get out Greninja and use its Water Shuriken and Giant Water Shuriken abilities helped a lot to swing the matchup in my favor. I actually went undefeated against Night March. I think I only tied it once. So I want to say I went 5-0-1 against it throughout both days. So definitely Splash Energy and Bursting Balloon helped a lot in that matchup.
Was Splash Energy an unpopular choice because of all these special energy hate cards and attacks and such?
It was unpopular because a lot of people were focused on just running 8 water, I'm pretty sure. They would rather have these spots go towards Trainer's Mail, which was in like every single Greninja break list I've seen. And I absolutely hated Trainer's Mail in this deck. I didn't think it really served a good purpose other than just as a filler card. I would definitely rather have, you know, like the Splash Energies and I'd say the Pokemon Ranger. That would have been the other card choice for the Trainer's Mail. But yeah, this card was very, very important. I've noticed when people are playing Greninja now, most of people are playing Splash Energy in it. So hopefully I changed some people's minds on it. But yeah, that is my Worlds deck that brought me to second place. You know, in 2016 it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing this deck. I ended up playing a very similar version to it at the next tournament I went to in Phoenix. But just like the finals worlds, I dead drew quite a bit. So I guess we'll see if I ever play Greninja again. Hopefully I do well with it next. But
we'll try to link that finals matchup in the iCard if you guys want to see his finals matchup, although he may not want you to, but it'll be there for you guys.
Yeah, it was... I mean, if you want to watch it, you should. It was pretty cool, but it isn't a very long video. My top 4 match was a lot better. My top 4 match will definitely show you how the deck operates and runs how it's supposed to.
And how is Greninja looking now in the current standard format with it being Primal Clash on?
Garbodor is a huge problem, so if you can avoid Garbodor, your matchups are pretty good, I'd say.
And the main issue being the lack of tool removal then, I assume.
Yeah, exactly.
Alright, well thank you very much for doing this video for us. Hopefully the viewers learned a little bit more about competitive play through you. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you let us know by commenting below and let us know that. Might have some kind of poll in the iCard as well for you guys to check out. And if this video is well received, I'm sure we're going to have Cody back for some more deck profiles, matches, and other competitive based videos. So if you guys enjoyed, like, subscribe, share the video with others who think want to learn more about competitive play. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time for some more Pokemon goodness.